As a starting point for understanding the behavior of people in organizations, let's first examine the basic nature of the individual-organizational relationship. Let's expand a bit further on the concept of individual differences. Every individual is unique. Individual differences are personal attributes that vary from one person to another. Individual differences may be physical, psychological, and emotional. The individual differences that characterize a specific person make that person unique. Are the specific differences that characterize a given person good or bad? Do they contribute or detract from performance? The answer, of course, is that it depends on the circumstances. One person may be dissatisfied, withdrawn, and negative in one job setting, but satisfied, outgoing, and positive in another. Working conditions, coworkers, and leadership are just a few of the factors that affect how a person performs and feels about a job. Thus, whenever a manager attempts to assess or account for individual differences among her employees, she must be sure to consider the situation in which behavior occurs. Managers should always be aware of psychological contracts that exist between the organization and employees. In the ideal situation, then, understanding differences across people and creating effective psychological contracts can help facilitate a good fit between people and the organization. Being good at our job is important, but it's not enough. We need to fit with our organization and our work group as well. Why are some very talented people undesirable coworkers or employees despite being very talented at what they do? The answer lies in many of the ways in which people need to fit with an employment opportunity to be a successful match. There are actually different forms of fit. Let's take a look. Person-job fit is the fit between a person's abilities and the demands of the job, and the fit between a person's desires and motivations and the attributes and rewards of that job. An employee's talents need to be a match to job requirements, and the job needs to meet the employee's needs and motivations. In addition to fit with a job, the fit between the employee and his or her work group and supervisor is also important. Good person-group fit or person-team fit means that an individual fits with the work group's styles, skills, and goals. Person-group fit recognizes that employees often must work effectively with their supervisor, work group, and teammates to be successful. Person-group fit leads to improved job satisfaction, organizational commitment, and intent to stay with the organization. Person-organization fit is the fit between an individual's values, beliefs, and personality and the values, norms, and culture of the organization. The strength of this fit influences important organizational outcomes, including job performance, retention, job satisfaction, and organizational commitment. Person-organization fit has a strong positive relationship with job satisfaction, organizational commitment, and intent to stay with the company, and can influence employee attitudes and citizenship behavior beyond job requirements, such as helping others or talking positively about the organization. So, how can you maximize person-organization fit? A good place to start is to identify those qualifications, competencies, and traits that relate to an organization's strategy, values, and processes, and hire people with those characteristics. Employees must be able to and willing to adapt to a company by learning, negotiating, enacting, and maintaining the behaviors appropriate for the company's environment. To successfully adapt, employees must be open-minded and have sufficient information about organizational expectations and standards and their own performance in light of those standards. Of course, hiring for any type of fit does not mean simply hiring those with whom we are most comfortable, which can lead to dysfunctional stereotyping and discrimination against people who may actually contribute a great deal to organizational success. Many firms choose to disclose as little potentially undesirable information as possible to reduce the chance that it will make the position unappealing. Essentially, some firms believe that if they tell recruits what it's really like to work there, the recruits won't want to take the job. However, this focus on hiring people without giving them an understanding of what it's actually like to work in an organization can backfire. Different people prefer different types of jobs and organizations. Once hired, they will obviously learn what the work and the organizational culture are really like. If the fit is not good once people start work, they tend to leave. Companies are increasingly putting interactive features and questionnaires on their websites to communicate their culture and give applicants insight into what the work is like. This increases the accuracy of new employees' expectations and decreases psychological contract violations. Realistic job previews involve the presentation of both positive and potentially negative information to job candidates. Rather than trying to sell candidates on the job and the company by presenting the job opportunity in the most positive light, the organization strives to present an accurate picture through RJP. The goal is not to deter candidates, but rather to provide accurate information about the job and the organization to build trust. Hiring customers and using employee referrals are among the methods many organizations use to give job candidates realistic information about what it would be like to work at that organization. If a common reason for employees leaving an organization is that the job is not what they expected, this is a good sign that the recruiting process and message can be improved. Giving applicants the opportunity to self-select out of the hiring process if they do not perceive themselves to be good fits with the position or the organization increases the likelihood that the applicants ultimately hired will be good fits and will be better employees as a result. Given the relatively low cost associated with their development, realistic job previews may be useful for organizations trying to reduce turnover rates for jobs that departing employees say were not what they expected when they accepted job offers. These traits are commonly called the Big Five personality traits. The Big Five personality framework is currently very popular among researchers and managers. These 5 dimensions represent fundamental personality traits presumed to be important for determining the behaviors of individuals in organizations. In general, experts agree that personality traits closer to the left of each dimension are more positive in organizational settings, whereas traits closer to the right are less positive. Agreeableness refers to a person's ability to get along with others. Agreeableness causes some people to be gentle, cooperative, forgiving, understanding, and good-natured in their dealings with others. Lack of it results in others being intolerable, short-tempered, uncooperative, and generally antagonistic towards other people. Conscientiousness refers to the extent to which a person can be counted on to get things done. Some people, for example, are organized, detail-oriented, responsible, dependable, and plan carefully in order to meet deadlines. These individuals can be characterized as being strong on conscientiousness. Less conscientious people may be prone to missing deadlines, overlooking various tasks, being unorganized, and being generally less dependable. The third of the Big Five personality dimensions is neuroticism. People who are relatively more neurotic tend to experience unpleasant emotions such as anger, anxiety, depression, and feelings of vulnerability more often than people who are less neurotic. People who are less neurotic are relatively poised, calm, resilient, and secure. People who are more neurotic are more excitable, insecure, reactive, and subject to extreme mood swings. People with less neuroticism might be expected to better handle job stress, pressure, and tension. This stability might also lead them to be seen as being more reliable than their less stable counterparts. Extraversion refers to a person's comfort level with relationships. Extroverts are sociable, talkative, assertive, and open to establishing new relationships. Introverts are less sociable, talkative, and sensitive, and reluctant to begin new relationships. For this particular trait, the opposite version is given a name, introversion. An introvert tends to be less comfortable in social situations. Finally, openness reflects a person's ability or beliefs and range of interests. People with high levels of openness are willing to listen to new ideas and to change their own ideas, beliefs, and attitudes in response to new information. On the other hand, people with low levels of openness tend to be less receptive to new ideas and less willing to change their minds. The Big Five framework continues to attract the attention of both researchers and managers. The potential value of this framework is that it encompasses an integrated set of traits that appear to be a valid predictor of certain behaviors in certain situations. Thus, managers who can both understand the framework and assess these traits in their employees are in a good position to understand how and why they behave as they do. A limitation of the Big Five framework is that it's primarily based on research conducted in the United States. Thus, generalizing it to other cultures presents unanswered questions. Even within the United States, a variety of other factors and traits are also likely to affect behavior in organizations. Many people know of this framework through a widely used questionnaire called the MYERS-BRIGGS Type Indicator, or MBTI. More than 2 million people worldwide take the self-assessment inventory every year. It's based on Carl Jung's work in psychological types. Psychologist Carl Jung was a contemporary of Sigmund Freud and leading exponent of the Gestalt personality theory. The MBTI was first developed by Isabel Briggs Myers and her mother, Caroline Cooks Briggs, to help people better understand themselves and to understand each other so that they could find work that matches their personality. They put Jung's concepts into everyday language. Isabel Myers' 1980 book, Gifts Differing, and her philosophy of celebrating individual differences encouraged the workplace diversity movement. The MBTI uses 4 scales with opposite poles to assess 4 sets of preferences. The 4 scales include the following. The first is extraversion and introversion. Extroverts are energized by things and people. They are interactors and on-the-fly thinkers whose motto is ready, fire, aim. Introverts find energy in ideas, concepts, and abstractions. They can be social, but also need quiet time to recharge their batteries. They are reflective thinkers whose motto is ready, aim, aim. Sensing and intuition is the next continuum. Sensing people are more detail-oriented. They want to trust the facts. Intuitive people seek out patterns and relationships among the facts that they've learned. They trust their intuition and look at the big picture. The next continuum is the thinking-feeling continuum. Thinkers value fairness and decide things impartially based on objective criteria and logic. Feelers value harmony and focus on human values and needs as they make decisions or judgments. The fourth and final continuum is the judging-perceiving continuum. Judging people are decisive and tend to plan. They focus on completing tasks, take action quickly, and want to know the essentials. They develop plans and follow them, adhering to deadlines. Perceptive people are adaptable, spontaneous, and curious. They start many tasks and often find it difficult to complete them. Deadlines are meant to be stretched. The possible combinations of these preferences result in 16 personality types, which are identified by the 4 letters that represent one's tendencies on all the 4 scales. Although the framework and the Myers-Briggs instrument were not developed or intended to be used to identify personality traits and label people, too often this is done with the results. This is problematic as it can lead to discrimination and poor career counseling. Employers should not hire, fire, or assign employees on personality types because the MBTI is not a reliable source of identifying a person's type. When retested, even after intervals as short as 5 weeks, as many as 50% of people are classified into a different type. There is little support for the claim that the MBTI can justify job discrimination or be a reliable aid to someone seeking career advice. The MBTI has become so popular that it's likely that everyone will encounter it during their career. It can be a fun team-building tool for illustrating some of the ways that people differ, but it should not be used for making organizational decisions, including hiring and promotions. Among the most important are locus of control, self-efficacy, self-esteem, authoritism, Machiavellism, tolerance for risk and ambiguity, type A and type B traits, and tendencies to bully. The role of the situation is very important in these traits. Locus of control is the extent to which people believe that their behavior has a real effect on what happens to them. Self-efficacy is our confidence in our ability to cope, perform, and be successful on a specific task. Self-efficacy is a key factor influencing motivation and engagement in an activity. Self-efficacy has been found to reduce the negative effect of low job autonomy on psychological and physical stress. General self-efficacy reflects a generalized belief that we will be successful at whatever challenges or tasks that we might face. Because self-efficacy and general self-efficacy are related to setting higher goals, persisting in the face of obstacles, and performing better, it's important for you to maintain a positive sense of self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is even related to developing your skills, setting more challenging goals, seeking social support, and persisting longer in the face of challenges that can help you build self-efficacy. Self-esteem refers to the feelings of self-worth or liking or disliking ourselves. Research suggests that self-esteem is strongly related to motivational processes such as specific self-efficacy, self-set goals, and effort, as well as emotional processes such as anxiety and regulating emotions. Self-esteem is positively related to job performance and to learning. Another important personality characteristic is authoritism, the extent to which a person believes that power and status differences are appropriate within hierarchical social systems such as organizations. The term Machiavellism is used to describe behavior directed at gaining power and controlling the behavior of others. More Machiavellian individuals tend to be rational and unemotional, may be willing to lie to attain personal goals, and put little emphasis on loyalty and friendship, and enjoy manipulating others' behaviors. Less Machiavellian individuals are more emotional, less willing to lie to succeed, value loyalty and friendship highly, and get little personal pleasure from manipulating others. Two other closely related traits are tolerance for risk and tolerance for ambiguity. Tolerance for risk, also called risk propensity, is the degree to which a person is comfortable accepting risk, willing to take chances, and to make risky decisions. Tolerance for ambiguity reflects the tendency to view ambiguous situations as either threatening or desirable. Intolerance for ambiguity reflects the tendency to perceive or interpret vague, incomplete, or fragmented information, or information with multiple, inconsistent, or contradictory meanings as an actual or potential source of psychological discomfort or threat. You've probably heard of a different pair of personality types called Type A and Type B. The Type A personality type is impatient, competitive, ambitious, and uptight. The Type B personality is more relaxed and easygoing and less overly competitive than Type A. Type B are not without stress, but they confront challenges with external threats with less frequency. Few people have extreme Type A or Type B personality types. Instead, people tend to lean towards one or another. This is reflected by the overlap between the profiles that you can see between Type A and Type B personalities. Understanding these personality types of your coworkers and your boss can help you to better understand and manage this potential source of work conflicts. Recognizing your personality type can help you to identify work situations that are good fits for you. There are many types of intelligence, or mental abilities, including general mental ability, information processing capacity, verbal ability, and emotional intelligence. General mental ability is the capacity to rapidly and fluidly acquire, process, and apply information. It involves reasoning, remembering, understanding, and problem solving. It's associated with an increased ability to acquire, process, and synthesize information, and has been defined simply as the ability to learn. The strong association between measures of general mental ability and performance in a wide variety of task domains is one of the most consistent findings in the field of organizational behavior. Information processing capacity involves the manner in which individuals process and organize information. Information processing capacity also helps explain differences between experts and novices on task learning and performance, as experts possess and organize information more effectively and accurately than novices. Mental ability tests typically use computerized or paper and pencil test formats to assess general mental abilities, including verbal or mathematical reasoning, logic, and perceptual abilities. Because scores on these tests can predict a person's ability to learn in training or on the job, be adaptable and solve problems, and tolerate routine, their predictive value may increase given the trend towards jobs requiring innovation, continual training, and non-routine problem solving. Despite being easy to use and one of the most valid selection methods for all jobs, mental ability tests produce differences larger than other methods that are also valid predictors of job performance, such as structured interviews. Although the reasons for the different results are not fully understood, it's thought that factors including culture, access to preparation programs, and different test motivation levels could be important factors. Because hiring discrimination can be legally problematic when using mental ability tests, it's best to evaluate the effect of mental ability tests on protected groups before using them on job candidates. Expert Daniel Goleman defines emotional intelligence as the capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves, and for managing emotions well in ourselves and in our relationships. He describes 5 dimensions of EI that include 3 personal competencies, self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation, and 2 social competencies, empathy, and social skills. Let's define these 5 dimensions comprising emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is being aware of what you're feeling. Self-motivation is persisting in the face of obstacles, setbacks, and failures. Self-management means managing your own emotions and impulses, while empathy is sensing how others are feeling, and social skills are effectively handling the emotions of others. Emotional intelligence involves using emotional regulatory processes to control anxiety and other negative emotional reactions and to generate positive emotional reactions. There is some controversy associated with emotional intelligence. Some have argued that its theoretical conceptualization is unclear because it's overly inclusive, lacks specificity, and encompasses both static trait components and malleable state components. It's not clear if it's simply a learned skill or an innate capacity. Several researchers have also argued that EI is simply a surrogate for general intelligence and well-established personality traits. However, a number of recent studies have supported the usefulness of emotional intelligence. EI has been found to be related to, and yet distinct from, personality dimensions, and various measures of EI provided incremental predictive power regarding life satisfaction and job performance, even after controlling for the big 5 personality dimensions. Emotional intelligence relates to job performance, adjustment to stressful situations, and pro-social behaviors. Learning styles refer to individual differences and preferences in how we process information when problem-solving, learning, or engaging in similar activities. One approach addresses our preference for sensory modality. A sensory modality is a system that interacts with the environment through one of the basic senses. The most important sensory modalities are visual, which is learning by seeing, auditory, which is learning by hearing, tactile, which is learning by touching, and kinesthetic, which is learning by doing. According to researchers, about 20 to 30% of American students are auditory, about 40% are visual, and the remaining 30 to 40% are either tactile kinesthetic, visual tactile, or some combination of the above major senses. A second approach to understanding learning styles, the CLOB Learning Inventory, is one of the more dominant approaches to categorizing cognitive styles. According to David Klob, the 4 basic learning modes are active experimentation, reflective observation, concrete experience, and abstract conceptualization. Klob suggests that there are 4 basic learning styles. Convergers depend primarily on active experimentation and abstract conceptualization to learn. Divergers depend primarily on concrete experience and reflective observation. Assimilators depend on abstract conceptualization and reflective observation. And accommodators rely mainly on active experimentation and concrete experience and focus on risk-taking, opportunity-seeking, and action. Although much has been written about cognitive learning styles, there are still wide gaps in our current understanding. There are many differences in how styles are conceptualized, and there have been numerous criticisms of Klob's measures and the underlying theory. Despite these limitations, evidence suggests that cognitive and learning styles may be important for understanding human behavior and performance in a variety of contexts. Finally, a learning style orientation measure to address some of the limitations of Klob's inventory identified 5 key factors. Discovery learning is an inclination for exploration during learning. Experiential learning is a desire for hands-on approaches to instruction. Observational learning is a preference for external stimuli such as demonstrations and diagrams that help to facilitate learning. Structured learning is a preference for processing strategies such as taking notes, writing down task steps, and so forth. And finally, group learning is a preference to work with others while learning. Learning styles, or individual differences and preferences in how we process information when problem-solving, learning, or engaging in similar activities, are also important individual differences and preference, and there are numerous typologies, measures, and models that capture them.